the left is the beat, so let's just want a cup.
Can I just get a cup for 212?
Yeah, put the phone in there. Yeah. Can't see anything with the light on. Pick it up higher. Go like this and then try it again without the light. Better. The first time I did it, I had this problem. It's good. That was very dark. Put the light on. The light through it. Put the light on over there. Leave him.
Tell him I'm here.
Huh?
Tell him I'm here.
He's good. He's perfect. He's happy. Leave him alone. Father when he wants to eat candy.
Yontif, everybody.
Yontif.
You know, make a l'chaim. Before we make a l'chaim, let's explain l'chaim. You know, the last words on the lips of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai before he was nifter. So it says in the Zohar Kaddish. It says in the Zohar Kaddish that the last pasuk, the last words on the lips of the tzaddik was the following pasuk: Kisham tziva Hashem es habracha. That over there, Kisham tziva Hashem es habracha. Over there, the Rebbeinu Shalom sent his brachas, and then he stopped. Then he was nistala. The next word is Chaim. Kisham tziva Hashem es habracha. Chaim ad ha'olam. Which means that Reb Shimon left it to us to make the final Chaim. You know, to be able to finish the words of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, you have to have some pull, you know, some protection. The truth is, I'll tell you the truth, I think that all of us have protection by Reb Shimon. I think we do. First of all, B'chalal, we're Yidden, that's certainly true. Shomer Torah mitzvahs, the Yidden that not only are from, but we've heard of Lag Ba'Omer. We're coming to celebrate Lag Ba'Omer. We believe in Reb Shimon. And then Befrat, Shabbat Befrat, in this base medrash, not because of any schusim, just everything is totally a mazel. We happen to have the tremendous mazel to be able to learn together, Torahs from Reb Shimon, Pnimis HaTorah together, so, which is a tremendous, tremendous chus. And I think it gives us a certain protection by Reb Shimon. It gives us a certain protection. And it was brought down by the Sormak Doshim that those tzaddikim, those people that have a chus to be by Miron, by the tzion of Reb Shimon, so it's a special, special inyan to be mishtateach, to lie on the tzion itself. Literally to lie on the tzion, to connect yourself to the neshama of the tzaddik and the neshama of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. But I'll tell you the truth, you know, even if you would be in Miron, what are the odds of you going to be able to actually be by the tzion mamish and to be mishtateach? Not so likely. You know, but it says in the Svarim, or other Svarim say that if a person learns the Torahs of the tzaddik, and the Torahs of the Talmidim and the Talmidim of the tzaddik, and you learn them in a way of Hishtadchus HaNefesh, in a way of Dvekas, to put your koyach, all your moyach, all your head, all your heart into the Torahs of the tzaddik, and you accept upon yourself to embrace that role of Afatzas Mayonis, of taking the Torah of the tzaddik, not for yourself, but to overflow with that Torah for your family, for your friends, for the world around you, then that's called B'Mishatecha Mekever. That's called Mamish, Hisdavkus Rucha Berucha. That's called an attachment of the soul, your soul to the soul of the tzaddik. And when that happens, then you have all the koiches of the tzaddik, you have all the koiches of the bracha of the tzaddik. So when I say L'chaim, it's not just enough to say L'chaim and have a little hagafen. It means to mekasher ourselves to the neshama of the tzaddik. You have to understand, you know, Reb Shimon and all of the tzaddikim emes that go in his path, they're looking for shluchim. They're looking for people of the generation to be makabel on themselves. They're calling out from heaven and from all the places of the world. Who is going to be the one that's going to take upon this mission of continuing Hafatzas Mayonis, of bringing Taras HaPnimiyas, Taras Chassidus, Taras HaKabbalah, Pnimistic Torah, Pnimistic Avodah? Who's going to bring it to the next generation? Who's going to bring it to themselves, to the world around them? And you say Hineni, you say it's you say me. And you know, in this generation, it doesn't matter your madrigas, it doesn't matter where you're holding or not. You're makabel and yourself hineni. That I'm going to accept upon myself to be a kli, to be a conduit, to be a shliach of the Riyah Kodesh, of the Baal Shem Tov, going back to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai himself, of Moshe Rayim Nehemna, to spread Yiddishkeit, to spread pnimistic skarvus, emunah, bitochen in a deep way, in a pnimistic way. Then that's called Hisdavkus Rucha Berucha. That's called a Dvekus in the tzaddik. That comes with all the koiches and all the protection of the world. So Reb Shimon said, Kisham tziva Hashem es habracha, and those that are loy hamesim yaluka, those that are still alive, those that are alive, have the obligation, have the tremendous chus of finishing the last words of Reb Shimon. When we finishing those last words, that'll be the Gula Shlema. So l'chaim chaver, l'chaim, one of us, use your protection. Use your pull. Don't let it go. Don't be so humble. And they have Lag Ba'Omer, don't be so humble. Use your protection. Tell Reb Shimon, I know your Torah. I'm familiar with some of the inyanim of your Torah. I know what it's about. I want to spread it. Give me the schus. And the Rebbeinu Shalom, through Rishon Bar Yochai, will give you all the shefa that you need, all the bracha, Rabbani Chaim Mizayni on all levels. We should all be tzeicha to be miskash ourselves to the tzaddikim, to the tzaddikim amitim, to all the tzaddikim that are trying to desperately, with every ounce of their fiber, every ounce of their being, to find proper shluchim, to bring the gula already, and to finish that pasuk of Kisham Tziva Hashem Esabracha, Chaim Ar Oilam, Chaim. Amen. All right, so let's learn a little bit for a few minutes. Everything we're going to learn is, it's a Torah, but it's also a tefillah, it's a way of iskashus. Like I said, nowadays, if you're not actually by the tziyun itself, and even if you are by the tziyun, the ikr hiskashus, the ikr dvekis, is by makashi yourself to the Torah tzaddik, to try to understand who the tzaddik is, to try to be makabel on yourself, the shlichus of the tzaddik, and to continue the simcha that Rishon Bar Yochai started. So when it comes to Lag Ba'Omer is a simcha for all Yid. Every single Yid has a simcha, has a chelik in that simcha of the Hilul of Rishon Bar Yochai. But befrat, specifically those neshamas that the Rebbeinu Shalom sent into the world at different tekufas, different times, that are specifically custom made to continue to be mamshech and to unpackage that light, that Torah, that truth that is Rishon Bar Yochai, Pnimis HaTorah. So those are the tzaddikim that they have a special chelik in this simcha of Rishon Bar Yochai, a special chelik in Lag Ba'Omer. So who are those tzaddikim? There's a lot of tzaddikim. Riyah Kaddish, for sure, the Rashash, the Chacham, Vilna Gaon, Baal Shem, all of the different tzaddikim that come from all those places that are focused on one thing alone, which is bringing Mashiach, bringing Gula, a Gula Barachamim, a Gula with Chasadim, a Gula in the way of Pnimius. So it means that in Meron right now, we're ready for a bunch of hours, all these tzaddikim are dancing with the Rishon. The Riyah Kaddish, the Rashash, the Vilna Gaon, Baal Shem, they're all dancing together. But there's a problem. The problem is like this. The Shita of the Vilna Gaon, it shouldn't surprise anyone that this is going to be a Vilna Gaon shul, right? That shouldn't surprise anyone. It's the avoid of the time. So, the Shita of the Vilna Gaon is like this. The Vilna Gaon held in halacha that whenever you have a minig b'Klal Yisrael, in order for it to be considered a valid minig, a minig that's something that has to be taken seriously, that has halachic footing to it. The Vilna Gaon held that it has to have a makar, it has to have its roots in Chazal. You have to have some sort of, either the minig is quoted in Chazal, a halacha that this minig is an offshoot from in Chazal, something. It can be shvach, but it has to have some makar in Chazal. So we have a minig, it's brought down by the Kadmonim. The Ramah brings it down in Shulchan Aruch. The minig is that on Lag Ba'Omer to have simcha. We're married with simcha on Lag Ba'Omer. So that's a minig. The Shita of Vilna Gaon is that it has to have iskashus and halacha, it has to have a makar in Chazal. So if you take a look at the Bir HaBran Shulchan Aruch, when this Ramah quotes this minig of having simcha Lag Ba'Omer, so the Vilna Gaon finds a makar in Chazal. What's the makar? So the Vilna Gaon quotes, he brings you to a Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara at the end of Tainus talks about another mysterious yontif of Tu B'Av. The Gemara says on Tu B'Av, the Mishnah says, Tu B'Av, Yom Tov in Yisrael, that it was mamish, one of the biggest Yom Tov in the Klal Yisrael, Tu B'Av. And the Gemara says at the end of Tainus, what's Tu B'Av about? What happened on Tu B'Av? So the Gemara gives a bunch of reasons, a bunch of explanations. And one of the explanations of the Gemara is that on Tu B'Av, the Dor HaMidbar, the generation that left Mitzrayim, that were destined to wander for 40 years and then pass away, and their children would enter into the land. So the Gemara says that generation finished dying on Tu B'Av. So says the Vilna Gaon, that's the makar of what? Of the symbol of Lag Ba'Omer. In other words, what do you see from the Gemara? You see that whenever there is, unfortunately, a group that there's a Gezeres Misa on, there's a decree of death, when they stop dying, that's a simcha. So just like you see by Tu B'Av, that when the people of the Midbar stop dying, it's a simcha, that's the Mishnah over there. So as a derivative of that, we have a yontif on Lag Ba'Omer, meaning that the Talmidei Rebbe Akiva, as the Gemara says in Yevamos, were destined to die because whatever the reason is. So the Vilna Gaon is saying that they stopped dying on Lag Ba'Omer. And Memela, that's the makar of the minig of having simcha on Lag Ba'Omer. That's what the Vilna Gaon is saying. This is not just the Vilna Gaon. All the Rishonim, when they quote this minig of Simcha Lag Ba'Omer, this is the reason that they give, that the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva stopped dying. But here's the problem, Chaim. The reason why we have Avelis is because of the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. They died, right? And when the Talmidim stop dying, that's when the Avelis is over. When is the Avelis of Sfira over? Tonight? No. Allah is, you're not supposed to take haircuts tonight. The Avelis is over tomorrow by day. Because the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva did not stop dying tonight. They stopped dying tomorrow. And the Hanhagi Avelis, the halach of mourning, does not end tonight. It ends tomorrow. So if the Simcha of Lag Ba'Omer, if the custom of having Simcha Lag Ba'Omer was only tomorrow by the day, then fine. Then that has a legitimate Makar in Shulchan Aruch, in Chazal. The Makar is, you see from the Gemara in Taanis that when people stop dying, it's a Simcha. So they stop dying tomorrow, that causes a Simcha tomorrow. So all the bonfires tomorrow, according to Vilna Gaon, are legitimate. But by tonight, the fact that we have a Simcha tonight, what's the idea of the Simcha tonight? They didn't stop dying yet. So what's the idea of Simcha tonight? So if you take a look at the Kisvei and you take a look at the other Svarim that explain the Minhagim, the reason why there's a Simcha tonight is not because they stopped dying, they didn't stop dying. What's the idea of tonight's Simcha? Tonight's Simcha is purely Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, his yard site is Lag Ba'Omer, and he was a big tzaddik. So we celebrate his life and his accomplishments and his Torah on his yard site. And that's the Simcha of tonight. But the problem is there's no Makar like that in Chazal. Where do we find the Makar in Chazal that in the yard site of tzaddik you're b'simcha? Quite the opposite. If anything in Chazal we find, Minhagim that's brought down in Chazal, or in Dharma other places in Taanis, that the day of the yard site there was a minig of fasting, not Simcha. So if you say that a minig does not have to have a Makar in Chazal, okay, fine. So tomorrow the Simcha is because the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva is stopping to die. And tonight is purely because of Reb Shimon. But according to the Vilna Gaon, that a minig is only legitimate if it has a Makar in Chazal, and the only Makar that the Vilna Gaon himself was able to find, and he knew Chazal. The only Makar he was able to find is what is the stopping of the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva from dying. And the Makar of that, we see such a thing with Tubav, that when people stop dying it's a Simcha, that legitimizes the minig of tomorrow. But what about the Simcha of tonight? And like I said, the Vilna Gaon is one of the Ikar Bali Simcha of Lag Ba'Omer. Pnimius HaTorah is mispashet and spreads in the world, it is unpackaged. The Torah of Reb Shimon is unpackaged further through the Vilna Gaon also. The Vilna Gaon, Sa'afitzneis, V'chulu. So it can't be that the Vilna Gaon, Chas v'Shalom, is not part of the party right now. When we were dancing, we will continue to dance. We're dancing with the Ariya Kaddish, with the Baal Shem Tov, with the Vilna Gaon, with Reb Shimon, because of his Elula, because of his Simcha. So how do we explain the Simcha according to Vilna Gaon? This is very important. This is very important. The Vilna Gaon has to be Mishtayach. It has to be part of the Simcha. We have to explain Al Pi Din, Al Pi Halacha, how the Simcha of tonight is legitimate according to the Vilna Gaon. So that's question number one. Question number two. Throughout the Zohar Kaddish, we find something mamish astonishing, something we don't find it anywhere else in Chazal. Kemat every page in the Zohar Kaddish, whenever Reb Shimon Bar Yochai opens his holy mouth to reveal secrets of Torah, it's with unbelievable emotion. The hisragshas. It's constantly with crying. It's with dancing. It's with rolling around on the floor. It's with raising his hands up to heaven. It's the emotions of the Zohar Kaddish and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his Chavraya Kedisha are spilling over from every page. You don't find such a thing in the rest of the Sivir Chazal. Abai Omar, Rava Omar, Ton Rabbanim. We don't find that their eyes were streaming with tears when they talk about Yishalem Midas. But all of a sudden, the Zohar Kaddish by Reb Shimon, the Sirachshas is pouring out of his heart. If this is something that you find so consistently and so commonly throughout the Zohar Kaddish, it must be that this inyan of the Hisragshas, of the Tanug, of the sweetness, the delight, the Torah that's Masik Midvash, that is so emotionally charged by Reb Shimon, it must be that's his inyan too. It can't just be a secondary Nakuda. It can't just be an Agavdika thing. It must be the Ikar Torah of Reb Shimon and the Ikar light that Reb Shimon brings to the world is something that has to do with the emotional expression of that Torah. That's the second question. What is this in of Hisragshas and Espilus and Bechias by Reb Shimon Dafka? Final question. The Gemara says in Shabbos, we all know the famous story, right? Reb Shimon and his son, they're running away because of the Romans, right? And they go to the cave, and they're in the cave for 13 years. And they come out of the cave, chulu, it's all nice, fine. The Gemara says that they, after all those years in the cave, they come, and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai meets his father-in-law that he hasn't seen in a very long time, Reb Pinchas ben Yair. According to Chazal, in the Zohar Kodesh, it's clear that the other tzaddikim knew Reb Shimon was alive, so they weren't shocked to see him. But the Gemara does say that Reb Pinchas ben Yair was shocked to see Reb Shimon Bar Yochai in the state that he was. The body of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was so pained and so damaged by those years in the cave. And famously, Reb Pinchas ben Yair says to Reb Shimon, "Oili shirasani b'kach, woe is to me that I have to see you like this." It's Rahmanis. And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, what does he say? He says, "Ashrecha shirasani b'kach, praiseworthy are you. You're so fortunate that you see me this way. Because if you didn't see me this way, if I didn't go through what I went through in the cave, that you wouldn't find what I have to offer now." And then the Gemara says, and what does Reb Shimon Bar Yochai have to offer? So what are we expecting for the Gemara to say? Geula, Mashiach, Arish Mashiach, Pnimis HaTorah, Zohar Kodesh. The Gemara does say that, but not in those words. The Gemara says, and what does Reb Shimon Bar Yochai now have after all those years in the cave? Who is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? What does he bring to the world? So the Gemara says, now after the whole experience of the cave, any time Reb Pinchas ben Yair asked the kasha in learning, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was able to give 24 answers. That's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai post-cave. So what's this Indian? That's how you sum up Reb Shimon. And it must be that that's not an Agav thing. It must be that is the Indian of Torah's Rashbi. That's Pnimis HaTorah. That's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's specific contribution to this Indian of Geula. The Indian of Pnimis HaTorah, Rafatzas Mayonis, is this Indian of being able to answer every kasha or Pinchas ben Yair in 24 different ways. So what does that mean? What does that tell us about Reb Shimon? One final question, okay? One final question. Listen, Mashiach's coming, Mashiach comes, there's no question about it. The Rebbe Shalom promised already, it's Haftacha, it's finished. But, there are two ways for Mashiach to come. I've been speaking about this for a few years already, I guess, but Chazal say that there's two paths for Geula. There's Geula, Rachmana Litzlan, Gedinim, and then there's a Geula Barachamim. A Geula with Rachmanis, with compassion, everything benachas. The Indian of Reb Shimon is not to bring Geula. Geula is coming no matter what. The Indian of Reb Shimon is that the Zohar Kodesh says that Moshe Rabbeinu himself said to Reb Shimon, "V'hai chibur dilach," with your chibur, with your sefer, Diyu Sefer Zohar, which is the Zohar Kodesh, Yafkid Yisrael and Gelusa Barachamim. So the question is, what is this Indian of Geula B'din versus Geula Barachamim, and why is it Dafka Reb Shimon that has this ability of bringing Geula Barachamim? Okay, so those are the questions. Alright, so it's like this. There's an Indian that I spoke about by Sudas Mashiach, the end of Pesach. Now at the time when I spoke about it, I sort of told the Chaver there, it wasn't as many people, I told them that this is an Indian that I only want to speak about in a sort of an intimate, private setting. And then I spoke about it. But then I'm feeling like, despite the fact that there's more people here and I'm being recorded, Lag Ba'Omer is a pneumistic setting, right? It's a private setting. This is Lag Ba'Omer. The Rizal said they needed Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The reason why Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was given the schus of writing the Zohar is because he had the koyach of being able to say over Torah that people were able to hear the words and understand the words, but if you weren't holding by understanding it, like you heard the words but you didn't really. So let's try to do that for Lag Ba'Omer. Does it what I'm talking about? If it's good for you, then good. If it's not good for you, it really is good for you, or you might not realize it yet, so plant the seeds and it will be good for you at some point. Alright. So there's a sugi in the Kisveri. It's one of those sugis that even the Rizal himself was afraid to talk about. But L'maisa, as time moves on and we get closer and closer to Arish Mashiach, then sugis that even hundreds of years ago, even by the Riyah Kaddish, was something that he was concerned about talking. But as we get closer to Mashiach, gates are more open. We could talk about things that in early generations they weren't allowed to. Kind of closer to Mashiach, and also B'chalal, we're less sensitive than we used to be. So even when we talk about things, it's not, no one's head is going to catch on fire. Don't worry about it. All right. So it's like this. The Rizal taught like as follows. We know that Lag Ba'Omer is a Yontif. It's a Sfiras Omer Dika Yontif, right? The whole month of Iyar is the month of Sfiras Omer. And Lag Ba'Omer Chai Iyar. So Lag Ba'Omer is a Sfiras Omer Dika Yontif. It's Yontif, it's a celebration of Sfiras Omer. Now, the Rizal writes in Shar Kavanas, Chavi Tal brings in from the Rizal in Shar Kavanas, that that's on a sort of Darabbanan Dika level. That Sfiras Omer, the Yontif of Sfiras Omer is Lag Ba'Omer. But on a Deraisa Dika level, the Rizal taught that there is a Yontif that on a Deraisa Dika level, also the Yontif of Sfiras Omer. And that's Shvi Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach. The 7th day of Pesach, which is commemoration for Kriyas Yamsuf, taught the Rizal, it's a commemoration of Kriyas Yamsuf, but be'etzem it's a Sfiras Omer Dika Yontif. Why would the Sfiras Omer Dika Yontif be on the 6th day of the first week of Sfiras Omer? It's not for him. But what the Arizal is telling us, the Kitzer, is that there's a parallel. You want to know what Lag Ba'Omer is? You have to understand its parent. You have to understand its source in Torah, which is Shvi Shal Pesach. Now the truth is, this inyan of Lag Ba'Omer being related to a Kriyas Yamsuf is something that we can't explain. The Arizal, the Rav Shimon Bar Yochai himself writes in the Zohar Kodesh the following idea. He writes this is in Tikkun Zohar, in Tikkun Chav. He says the following thing. Rav Shimon says, B'Kadmisa, in the earlier redemption of Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Yoma Bahu Chamar, the Geula took place through a Kriyas Yamsuf, a physical Kriyas Yamsuf, a physical Yam, ocean, a sea split. B'Purkan of Asraisa, but the final Geula said Rav Shimon, Kula b'Yama Daraisa. There's also going to be a Kriyas Yamsuf. But instead of there being a physical Yam that's splitting, it's the Yam of Torah, the sea of Torah, the secrets of Torah, which is compared to the ocean. Just like the ocean is mysterious, you know what's going on underneath there, and it's awesome. So the secrets of Torah compared to the ocean as well. And Kriyas Yamsuf, the Kriyas Yamsuf of Yitzias Mitzrayim was a physical one, and the Kriyas Yamsuf of the Geula Hasid is going to be one of Torah, that the secrets of Torah will be opened up, and Rav Shimon is going to open up those secrets. So the Yontif of Lag Ba'Omer, which is the Yontif for celebrating Pnimis HaTorah and the revelation of Pnimis HaTorah, is the Din of Kriyas Yamsuf. So in order to understand Kriyas Yamsuf, in order to understand Lag Ba'Omer, we have to investigate Kriyas Yamsuf. Now this is a sugi that the Rizal himself was afraid to talk about. So just to open the crack a little bit. The Gemara says in Saita, Kasha Zivugin Kriyas Yamsuf, where it quotes a statement that the Rabbanish Kasha Zivugin Kriyas Yamsuf, something the Rabbanish are making Zivugin, making Shidduchim, it's as difficult by the Rabbanish like Kriyas Yamsuf. So the Gemara asks the Kasha Zivugin Kriyas Yamsuf, isn't it true that 40 days before a baby is born, there's a Vaskal that says, Bas Pliny Lepliny, it's already a Shidduch from before they're born. So what's the big deal? It's already made from the very beginning. What's so difficult? So says the Gemara, Hab is Zivig Rishon, Hab is Zivig Sheni. The first marriage, in Pashup Shah, the first marriage, that's based on a Baskal from before they're born, that's not hard. But a Zivig Sheni, simply, there's a divorce a little later, and then there's a second marriage. That's Kashik Zivugin Kriyas Yamsuf. That's difficult by the Rebbeinu Shalom Kivyachol, like Kriyas Yamsuf. That's the Gemara. The question is obvious in the first Shemesk. What does it mean? What does it mean? It's difficult by God. Kriyas Yamsuf was hard. What does it mean? Rebbeinu Shalom is infinite. He's God. What does it mean to be hard at all? Why is Kriyas Yamsuf hard? Why is it Sheni Dafka like Kriyas Yamsuf? The whole thing is a power. So understand that. The Rizal taught the following thing. When we left Mitzrayim, that was called a Zivig Rishon with the Rebbeinu. That was called the first marriage with God. What does it mean, the first marriage? When we left Mitzrayim, we were fresh off the boat, fresh, no background. We became a people at that moment. Even though in Mitzrayim we went through our Yom, but we weren't really in yet, in a certain sense. In season time, we were born fresh, no beginning. And we came into the world, so to speak, by that moment of Yitzias Mitzrayim, ready for Dveikus, ready for Hiskashos with the Bar Yolam, Zivig Rishon. And it was amazing. And the Zohar HaKadosh, we find that the night of Pesach is called Zivugi Ilah, it's called an exalted Yichud with the Rebbeinu Shalom, Lel Shimurim, Laila ki yanyor, it's a zivir rishon, it's mamash geval. But what happened after Kriyas Yam, after Yitzias Mitzrayim? What happened is, the Rebbeinu Shloim, we had an unbelievable zivir that first night, a yichud. But you already look in Chumash, what happens? Just a few days later, the Jewish people find themselves by Yam Suf, and all of a sudden we become panic-stricken. Panic-stricken. We have the ocean in front of us, and the Mitzrayim are running after us from behind. You have wilderness on both sides. We don't know what's going on, and we fall into panic. And you know what happens when we're in panic mode? All the emunah, all the bitachon, all the dveikis, all the iskashis that we had with the Rebbeinu Shalom that first night, it all goes away. We've all had that, right? We've all had that moment where everything's gevaldig, it's fine, it's benuchas and nefesh, yishvadas, dveikis, yichud. And then all of a sudden something happens, all the bitachon, all the emunah goes away, and Chas Shalom person falls into low things, small things. The Jewish people begin to fetch and they complain to Moshe Rabbeinu, why do you take us out of Mitzrayim? When we had that time now, when we said those words, why would we take us out of Mitzrayim? We don't want any of this, we'd rather go back. That's a gerushin. That's a gerushin. And whenever there's a gerushin, so the kala of the Jewish people always want to return to our husband. We always want to return to Rebbeinu Shalom. And after that moment, where we lost our minds, and we lost our bitachon, we lost our emunah, we lost the chizdik, and we fell into complaints, we fell into low places, we fell into aveiros, we fell into all sorts of mitzrayim dekinyanim. Then the Jewish want to do tshuva. And what's tshuva? Tshuva is zivik sheni. Tshuva is to get remarried. And that's exactly what the Jewish people did. They turned to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to daven for us. And Moshe Rabbeinu turns to Rebbeinu Shalom and he begins to daven for the Jewish people on our behalf, and he does tshuva for us. And we do tshuva through him. And we come to a place of where we should have a yichud again, but it's a zivik sheni. And you know what the Rizal said? The Rizal said, whenever there's a zivik sheni, despite the fact that it's unbelievable, it's great, and we're back, the chassan and kal are back. But the Rizal taught, based on the Gemara, it's kasha zivugin kikriyas yamsuf. There's something that's kasha, there's something that's difficult. There's something that's not perfect when it comes to zivuk sheni. What is that? Chazal say the following mashal. That when it comes to that point of kriyas yamsuf, and we were ready to go back to the Rebbeinu Shalom, to do tshuva, and to come back to God, Chazal compare us to a sheep, to a certain type of ayol, a certain type of sheep, that wants to have a zivug, it wants to have a relationship with the male, but it's unable to. Its rechem is narrow, it's unable to have a yichud. And so what happened? It wants to return to its mate. So Chazal say the Rebbeinu Shalom sends a nachash, sends a snake, to bite the ayola, to bite the sheep, and through the biting of the nachash, it's able to have a zivug with its mate. Said the Riyah Kaddish, the meaning of this is that when a Jewish person is initially in a state of zivug with the Rebbeinu Shalom, that all there is you and God, and there's no sitra achra, there's no tzadin, there's no nachash, there's no negative energy, there's nothing. It's just kedusha and tahara, it's just holy and pure and simcha. But then when there's a yerid, and when there's in a field, there's a virus that move you away from that zivug rishon, then even after you do tshuva, and you return to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and you're now ready to have a zivug sheni, but there's a nachash there. And the nachash means, like David Melch said in Tehillim, Chatasi Negdi Samid, that despite the fact that I know that I'm returning to God, and I believe in the power of tshuva, but David Melch said himself in Tehillim, Chatasi Negdi Samid, there's a nachash here. I'm not the only one in the room with the Rebbeinu Shalom, there's a nachash here. And whenever a zivug sheni takes place, it's kosher, it's difficult. It itself brings added fuel to the Yetzer Hara itself. Because even after a person does tshuva, even after a person returns to the Rebbeinu Shalom and wants to redo the kedusha and go back to a zivug, the sudden is always there in the back of the mind, in the back of the person, whispering, Chatascha, Chatasi Negdi Samid. There's always the sudden of it, there's always the nachash. Kasha zivugin kikriyas yamsuf. And so this is what was so difficult by Kriyas Yamsuf. The Jewish people are trying to recapture the Zivik. They're trying to go back. They're trying to have the Zivik Sheni. There's going to be a Nachash there. So what's the Eitzah? So the Torah says, Chatasi Neged is something you're supposed to do. The Pasuk says like this. It's the Chiddush from the Torah's Chacham, and it's based on the Pasuk. The Rebbeinu Shalom, when Moshe Rabbeinu turns to Hashem by Kriyas Yamsuf, and he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, Hashem Bagana, we want to do tshuva, Rebbeinu Shalom, help us. We want to return to you, we want to come back, we want to become your Kala again. You know what the Rebbeinu Shalom says? The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't say, okay, I'll take you back. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, not titzak elai. What are you doing? What are you doing tshuva for? What are you doing? Da'arol b'nei Yisrael v'yisrael. Just go weiter. What are you talking? What are you doing tshuva for? Says the Zohar HaKadosh. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai himself in the Zohar HaKadosh says that what the Rebbeinu Shalom was telling Moshe Rabbeinu is, not titzak elai. What are you davening? What are you calling out? What are you doing tshuva? Ba'atika talia milsa. Don't you know that at this moment there's a revelation of my midah, of my divine midah that's called Atik Yoimin. For those that are familiar, the term Atik Yoimin is the highest madriga, because Atik means ancient of days. And said Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar HaKadosh, that at that moment of Kriyas Yamsuf, the Rebbeinu Shalom was being Magala, was revealing a midah that's called Atik Yoimin. What does that do? What does that mean? Comes the Torah's Chacham, the great Talmud of the Rashash. And the Torah's Chacham tells us the following Yisod. And he uses this in a few places in his farm, and he says as follows. That even though it's not true that the normal process is Zivir Rishon, it's Gevaldik. But then there's Yerida, there's Nefil, there's Averis, there's a Golus. And then you have to do Tshuva, and then you have a Zivik Sheni. And a Zivik Sheni is always going to be not as great, because there's always Chatasi Neg Yisam, there's always that residue of Chet that still remains, there's always a Nachash in the room. But said the Torah's Chacham, the Rebbeinu Shalom was being Magala, a secret by Kriyas Yamsuf, something that has never been revealed before, which is that there's such a thing that's called Atik Yoim. And you know what Atik Yoim means? Atik Yoim means that there is such a madrega, there's a truth, that even when you're holding by this place of where you should have a Zivik Sheni, Atik Yoim says, just go back to Zivik Rishon. Just pretend it never happened. It never happened. Atik Yoim was where Atik Yoim means ancient of days. Let's just go back. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says to Moshe Rabbeinu, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. I simply don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about? We just had terrible Yeridus and terrible Nefilas. What are you talking about? I'm doing tshuva. Am I supposed to do tshuva? The Rebbeinu Shalom says, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Atik Yoim. It's ancient of days. I don't know what Nefilas, what Yeridus. I don't know what you're talking about. L'adam. There hasn't been such a thing. There's never happened. Never happened. Does it mean never happened? So listen. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai writes in the Zohar HaKadosh the following idea. Rav Shimon writes, Rozin Elim, these secrets of Torah that I'm revealing, Ismasru bar l'mechatz dechaka kadisha. I'm only giving them to those people that know how to harvest from the garden of their Rebbeinu Shalom, if they know how to harvest well. What does that mean? So listen. Atik Yoimin doesn't mean, this revelation of the Torah's Chacham doesn't mean Chas V'Shalom just to pretend it didn't happen. But let me explain. You know, by Yidden, like when we dance, you know, like Ashkenazi Jews, I guess, when we dance, we have like two moves, right? There's two moves. Either a circle, right? That's one move. Or lines, just going back and forth. Those are the two moves. That's all we got. Okay? That's all we got. A circle. Okay. A circle is a very nice thing. Achtas. What's this meaning of lines going back and forth? The Smart Glishans say the following idea. It's brought down from the Rishonim already. Tanu Tamidi Ein a Tanu. Tanu Tamidi Ein a Tanu. You know what Tanu Tamidi Ein a Tanu means? Something that is pleasurable, something that's amazing, but if it's always, and it's always consistent, never taking any break, it loses its pleasure. Tanu Tamidi Ein a Tanu. If something is pleasurable and it's amazing, but it's always, then it's never. Then it loses its time. In order for something to remain pleasurable, that has to go through ups and downs. It has to stop once in a while. You know what the dance of the Jewish people is when we go towards each other and you go back and forth? You know what the revelation about the Yemen is? The revelation about the Yemen is not that there was never a Yerida, not that Aver didn't happen, not that the Nefil didn't happen. But you know why you didn't have Aver? You know why you had that Nefila? It was just to make sure that your Tanuk with the Rebbeinu Shloim is not a Tanuk Tamidi, that's all. It was just to make sure that you don't get used to it. But that break was not a separation, Chas v'Shalom. It was just the back and forth of the dance. When you're mamish close, then that's very, very nice. But being close is even better when it comes after you were distanced. So when you take a step back from each other, you're not really trying to get away from each other. You're just trying to enhance the pleasure when you come back together. This is the secret of Atik Yomin. The secret of Atik Yomin is that there's a way to reorient ourselves to look at all of Galus, is that it was never a break from Gula, it was never a break from Beis HaMikdash. It was just a long dance between us and the Bari Olam, going back and going forth. Going back and going forth. And when you go back from the Rebbeinu Shloim, you're not moving away, that's part of the dance. And the reason why you're going back is in order that it should be that much more geschmack when you go close. Rav Shimon Yochai said that my secrets are being given over to those that know how to harvest the garden properly. What does that mean? So listen to the words of the Rizal. The Rizal writes in Shar Mamor Rashbi, Vo'inin u'mashes bor etzlina b'nei kriyas yamsuf. Said the Rizal, the Indian of Rav Shimon Yochai is to not just stam he revealed secrets of Torah. The Indian of Rav Shimon Yochai is to reveal this Indian that I mentioned by kriyas yamsuf. That Oz la Pesach Chatas Roivitz, that by Kriyas Yamsuf, which is the Bechin of Zivik Sheni, when there's a moment of trying to return to Hashem, the problem is there's always the Nachash whispering in the person's ear, Chatasi Negdisamit, making the Zivik Sheni not as deep and not as bound to each other as Zivik Rishon. Who Nachash Elyon, and that's the snake that stops the Zivik Sheni from being like the Zivik Rishon. But in order for there to be such a thing as what? As a Zivik Sheni, which in truth is not a Zivik Sheni. A Zivik Sheni, which is in truth just a return to Zivik Rishon. And a realization that even the Yerida, even the distance in between was not really a distance. It was just a dance going back and forth. And Golus was never really a Golus. Chor Beis HaMikdash was never really Chor Beis HaMikdash. It was just part of this cosmic, historic dance with the Rebbeinu Shloim of going back and forth and back and back and forth and back and forth, just to make the moments of closeness that much more geschmack and that much more pleasurable and that much more meaningful, to make sure that the Tanuk Tamidi of the Rebbeinu Shloim and his Shechina, the Rebbeinu from the Jewish people, that it shouldn't be a Tanuk Tamidi. In order to make sure that it's not a Tanuk Tamidi, there has to be some level of distance. But the distance is also part of the Dveikis. The distance is also part of the closeness. It's all one big dance. In order to make this, in order to reveal the secret of Atik Yomin, of Ancient of Days, that be'etzem nothing ever stopped the Zivik Rishon, the Rebbeinu Shalom sends a Neshama Ir V'Kadosh Mishmai Kanachis, the Neshama of Rav Shimon Yochai. And the Indian of Rav Shimon Yochai and the revelation of his specific type of Torah and Pnimis of Torah in the Zohar Kodesh are not just some secrets of Torah. The secrets of Rav Shimon Yochai are the secrets of that he proclaims by himself, Anan b'chavivus Italianos, that my entire Indian is to reveal how the Jewish people never fell out of love with God. And God never fell out of love with us. Because even though it might be true that it looks like for 2,000 years we've been kicked out of his house, and there's been a Gerushin, that's not an actual Gerushin, that's just a dance by a Chassan. It's just been, the line has just been moving afar from each other for a very long time, only for the purposes of coming back together when the time is right, and it'll be that much more awesome. But there's never been truly a break. Said the Arizal, this is what Rav Shimon Yochai said, that my secrets are there for those people that know how to harvest the garden properly. To harvest the garden, that's a euphemism for a yichud between the Rebbeinu Shalom and the Jewish people, in a way that doesn't have any nachash. And that's the secret of Rav Shimon. And the Rizal says as follows. The soid haleid hazois, the ability to do this, who said Kitzir Sasad Elyon, it means to harvest the Sada properly. V'atzadikim hagormim Kitzir Zu b'tfilasam, and those tzadikim that live in such a way, that look at other Yidden in such a way, that look at themselves in such a way, that look at Golos in such a way, that it's not real Golos. Golos is just, it's a Maris Ayin, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. We assume that there's been a Golos. We assume there's been a Churban Beis HaMikdash. We assume that there's been a Gerish. But like I mentioned on Sunday by the Shir, the minhag of Klal Yisrael is not to give Gittin during the month of Iyar. There's a minhag not to give a get by the month of Iyar. There's reasons. The month of Iyar, it's questionable how to spell, 2 years or 1 year. Hashgacha Prat is you don't give a get in the month of Iyar. Because the whole secret of Iyar, the secret of Shimon is Atik Yoimin, ancient of days. That despite the fact that the secret of Kriyas Yamsuf is there should be a Zivik Sheni, and a Zivik Sheni means there's a Nachash. The secret of Reb Shimon is Rabbi Shalom saying, "Not Titzak in life. What are you doubting for? You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing happened. I don't know what you're talking about. I simply don't know what you're doing tshuva for." This is the secret. This is the great secret of tshuva in Pnimis HaTorah, where you're not doing tshuva for any sin. You're doing tshuva is not even chalaf for averis. Tshuva is just the lines coming back to each other. That's all it is. It's just the lines going back to each other. Because in truth, that's all it was. It was just lines going back and forth. That's all it was. This is the secret of Rishon B'Yechai. Those that are mechatz dechakla, those that know how to harvest the fields properly, know how to make that yichud of even after a yerida, but know how to do it in such a way of atik yoimin, then they just go weiter. And not only that, they realize that it's dafka the yerida, dafka the nefila, dafka the distance that they might have brought upon themselves only is enhancing the yichud. I mentioned this then by the Tzidus Mashiach, and I'll say it again. Listen, the tzaddik said it, so there's no reason why I can't. The Rebbe Rashab of Lubavitch, he said in the minor once, that the only way for a Jew to become a chassid is only if they ever experience Bagam HaBris. Only someone that ever experienced Bagam HaBris can be a true chassid. That's what he said. How the Kazakh say such a thing. The only way to be a chassid is if at some point in your life you participated in the dance of the Rebbeinu Shalom by going back. Only if at some point in your life you took a step back, only then can you be a chassid and enjoy and have the deepest kashrus to the Rebbeinu Shalom by going forward. But if you never took a step back, it means you're not dancing. It means you're simply not dancing. What's the need of Reb Shimon? Why is the Reb Shimon B'Yechai, the whole need of Reb Shimon in the Zohar Kaddish is with so much esrakshus, so much bechias, spiralous emotion? Because that's exactly what Reb Shimon B'Yechai brings to the world. Reb Shimon B'Yechai, the secret of all secrets, the secret of Torah's Reb Shimon is that the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva never died. That is the biggest secret of Torah's Reb Shimon, that they simply never died. Why are we mourning the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva? Because those particular people died. Tzaddikim have died over the years. The reason why we're mourning is because the Gemara says in Yevamos that as a result of all the death of the 24,000 students, Haya Ayom Shamim, the world was desolate, there was no Torah anymore. That's why we're mourning. Because the Torah was lost. Everything stopped. Churban of Torah. But the whole secret of Rishon B'Yechai is what? That after the cave, he comes, and any kasha Reb Pinchas ben Yair has, Reb Shimon answers 24 ways. Because the secret of Rishon B'Yechai is to show that what? That the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva never died. There was never a churban of Torah. Everyone stopped learning. Nah, that's just part of the dance. It's just part of the dance. That's just a long line going back in order to be that much more geshmak when you go close. There was never a churban of Torah. There's no such thing as a churban of Torah. The 24,000 Talmidei Rabbi Akiva just took a different form, and the Torah of Rabbi Akiva is just in a different stage right now. Instead of it being going forward, now for that kufa it was going back, and now it's going forward again with Reb Shimon. We asked the question at the beginning, according to the Vilna Gaon, what's the simcha? What's the makar of the simcha of tonight? Said the Vilna Gaon, the only makar in halacha for a simcha Lag Ba'Omer is the fact that Talmidei Rabbi Akiva stopped dying, that they didn't die, that they stopped dying. That's only tomorrow. What about tonight? The only reason to dance tonight is because of Reb Shimon. The answer is, the secret of Reb Shimon is that they never died. So even tonight the simcha is that Talmidei Rabbi Akiva didn't stop dying, they never died. There was never such a thing as the mises of Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. How is it possible to celebrate the non-death of the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva even tonight when they were physically dying? Because Rav Shimon Bar Yochai reveals that there's no such thing as the death of Torah. There's no such thing as a galus. There's no such thing as Yerida. It's all just moving back to move forward. And this is why there's such a thing that the Mr. Shamagi used to say, that by big neshamas like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, there was never Chur Beis HaMikdash. There was never Chur Beis HaMikdash. What does that mean? You bring karbanos to Miron. There's never Chur Beis HaMikdash. It means that the Chur Beis HaMikdash was just going back to go forward again. That's all it was. That's all it was. This is the secret of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And the way to be makasher ourselves to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is that every single one of us, whatever Yana we went through, from the first day Pesach, so to speak, until Kriyas Yamsuf, all the reads all in the fields, you know what the biggest tshuva is? Just go weiter. Just don't think about it. Stop obsessing about it. Just go weiter. You know why? Because in Shemayim, they're not obsessing about it either. They're just simply not. We're making ourselves crazy. We're coming to Rabbanu Shalom, tshuva, Rabbanu Shalom, forgive us, Hashem, Rabbanu Shalom, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I simply don't know what you're talking about. I want you to do mitzvahs. I want you to learn. I want you to mechazik yourself. Be makabel on yourself. More pnimis Torah, more learning, more avodah. Averis. They don't talk about Averis in Shemayim. That's not the sugya. It's not the sugya. It's a sugya without Rav Shimon. Without Rav Shimon, Averis. Churban. With Rav Shimon, what churban? What churban? You know, it says in the Zohar Kodesh that by the Kisei HaKavod, when the Satan wants to, God forbid, be makashrik and prosecute against the Jew, by the Kisei HaKavod, he's not able to say, Pliny did an Aveira. By the Kisei HaKavod, what the Satan says is, Pliny has the opportunity to do tshuva. That's the nusach that the Satan is allowed to say. Because that's all it is. That's all it is. This is the secret of Lag Ba'Omer. And it's a sight, sure sight. And it's not something that's so simple. It's not something that everyone is able to hear. That every single one of us, if you're a pnimis yid, you have a skashus to pnimis Torah, then you know in your bones that when you're wallowing in your own self-pity about your own chesroinus, the Rebbeinu Shalom is screaming at you, what are you talking about? I simply don't know what you're talking about. I had this pagam, that pagam, you could become a chassid. That's exactly why you could become a chassid. This is exactly why you could become a chassid. The avodah of Igros the Mashiach, the avodah of this generation to be makasher ourselves to the tzadiki emes, to the tzadikim of pnimis Torah, is to tshuva in such a way of what? Of atik yomin. And this is what it means, ogul b'rachamim. Ogul b'din means zivik sheni. Ogul b'rachamim means zivik rish never ended. I don't know what you're talking about. I simply don't know what you're talking about. It was just going back, to go forth, to go back, to go forth. Just one big chasna, one big hilula, one big simcha, in order to make sure that it's tanik tamidi. It's not to make sure that it's tanik tamidi is taka pleasurable. Hashem shall bless each and every one of us. We have to daven. We have to look at other yidden in such a way. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said that those tzaddikim that are able to daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom for other yidden and look at other yidden in such a way that they never left the Kisei HaKavod, the Zivig Arisha never ended. Those are the yidden that have iskashus to Rav Shimon. Those that are able to bring shefa, bracha, and atzlacha ad b'lidai to all the mishpachas, to all of Klal Yisrael. We shall be zoichet to have a gul barachamim, gul chasadim, and the schus of Olitana Bar Yochai, and the schus of all tzaddik yemes, the balei soid, balei pnimis, should be zoichet to be miskasher ourselves to all of them, and be as called tzaddik barachamim, gul Hashem amitas me'eri yimeinu.
There should be benchers on the table that have the words. There should be benchers somewhere if I'm right. do this one slow. This is the whole avoid. You could be stuck in a cave and be the deepest.